Good afternoon and welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar. I can see that we've still got a few people signing in as we speak, so as we often do, we'll just pause for another minute or so just to allow those of you who are just signing in right now time to get settled down and comfortable, and we'll start in around about 1 minute's time. So once again, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We'll start things off in around about 1 minute. Speak to you then. Hello, good afternoon once again. Thank you for joining us on today's latest Railbookers webinar entitled 7 Destinations in France Beyond Paris. My name is Matt and it's my pleasure to be with you on the webinar this afternoon. Now, before we get started, you may have already noticed there are a couple of free handouts that you can download. And in fact, I will be referring to one of them in the course of the webinar in just a few minutes' time. So if you'd like to download those, please feel free to do so at any point. I will try and give you a quick reminder just before we bring things to a close this afternoon, in case you haven't already done so. Also, if you would like to ask questions at any time, you will see a box that looks like the one that you should see on the screen right now. You can send through any questions about anything we cover in the webinar today, and we'll be happy to answer them. If we have time, I might pick one or two at the end of the webinar to answer live. And if not, don't despair, because one of the team will reach out to you and we'll make sure we've got every question answered, whether it's before the end of this week or maybe start of next week at the absolute latest, but we'll get around to every single one. It can be a question about absolutely anything as well. So if it's anything to do with Railbookers that isn't to do with today's webinar, it could be about destinations you'd like to travel to or destinations you'd like us to feature on a future webinar. Who knows? Whatever it might be, we love to see your feedback. So feel free to send us your thoughts through whatever they might be referring to. So what are we going to talk about in today's presentation? Well, today we're going to be looking at a number of great destinations in France outside of Paris. So we'll leave Paris to one side for now, as that gets covered quite a bit. But we'll look at some other great destinations that are well worth visiting, and some of our most popular holidays that include destinations in France outside of Paris. So before we start that part of the webinar, the main section, just a reminder that we do currently have our Great Escape sale currently taking place, but the sale is very nearly over. It was extended by a week due to popular demand, but it is going to come to an end on Friday at close of business tomorrow. So if you do have your eye on something, you haven't got too much time left. If you haven't had a look at the sale just yet, worth me pointing out that there are some great offers which you can see on the screen there. You can save up to £500 per couple on a number of, well, any of our rail holidays, really, just dependent on the number of nights that you that you spend. So you can save up to £300 per couple on a 3 to 6 night holiday, up to £400 on a 7 to 9 night holiday, and £500 per couple on any 10-night holiday or more. So lots of great offers to be had. If you like the sound of that, you've got just over a day to take advantage. So the clock is ticking. Just before we start the main part of the webinar, a recap for many of you, and perhaps an introduction for those of you who haven't travelled with Railbookers before, or perhaps haven't attended one of these webinars before. What do Railbookers offer? So basically, we aim to be the complete one-stop shop for the entire rail holiday experience. So it's not just the train travel, important though that is, of course, with the confirmed seat reservations, but there are a number of other really crucial elements too that we look after, and that ranges from sightseeing activities. We have a number of different tours and activities, all the main places of interest in the destinations that you will visit, from a variety of different options, some of which include the option to what we call skip the line, which basically means avoid having to stand in a lengthy queue outside, but spend more time doing the actual tour that you've come to see, or entering wherever it might be, the place of interest. We also have a range of centrally located hotels ranging from 3-star through to 5-star, all of which are easily accessible from the main train stations, and they're located in different parts of the city and different styles too. Some of them more contemporary, some of them more traditional. So whatever your preference, whether it's 3-star, 4-star, 5, more modern, more contemporary, more traditional, whatever it might be, we'll have a great option for you. Many of our holidays also feature journeys by ferry, some exciting excursions, as you can see from that Swiss cable car there, and also overnight rail journeys are included on a great number of them as well. So why do travellers love travelling with Railbookers? Well, there's a number of different reasons for that, really. Rail travel does offer a huge number of bucket list experiences, particularly for special occasions. And there could be any number that you have in mind, whether, I don't know, whether you've always wanted to travel perhaps overland, like coast to coast across the USA, perhaps, or to head over to Venice in style on board the Venice Simplon Orient Express to celebrate a special occasion, maybe. Or it could just be simply ticking off 1 or 2 destinations that you've always wanted to visit, but for whatever reason have never quite got round to it. Whatever the reason, there's plenty of bucket list experiences that you can do traveling by train. It also offers unparalleled freedom and flexibility. The vast majority of holidays that you see, both on the webinar today, but also on our brochure and in our website, can be done any day of the year, all year round. So really, you can go whenever you're able to. As many of you will agree as well, I'm sure, traveling by train is also the most scenic way to travel. You really do see a lot more traveling at ground level, and it gives you a different perspective on the countryside that you're passing through, and also the changing scenery, particularly over long journeys. If you travel from one country to another, perhaps, or even over long distances within the same country. And it really does make the journey part of the overall holiday experience, and a really important and enjoyable part too, rather than just a means of traveling from A to B. Of course, it's that too, but it really does become an enjoyable and essential part of the overall holiday. All of the itineraries that you see here are customizable as well. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means that you might like the idea of the holiday, but wish it could be slightly longer, or you'd like to spend a bit more time in one destination than we have advertised. Perhaps you'd like to include a destination that isn't originally featured on that particular holiday. Maybe you'd like to do it in reverse, whatever it might be. All of the itineraries can be customized, so all you need to do is let us know. Equally, depending on when you'd like to travel, if it's more than 3 months in advance, you can secure any of the holidays here for just a small deposit now, and you pay the rest of the balance much later, around about 90 days before you go. Very, very important, particularly if you're traveling at a busy time of year. And really, the key message is, whether you're looking at traveling in 2 days' time or 2 years' time, our holidays go anytime, any day, anywhere. So really, if the train goes there, then so do we. We do also have a maximum flexibility offer in place at the moment as well. So for new reservations and existing reservations, you can change your travel dates or postpone your trip at any point up until 5 days prior to departure. And that's without incurring any change fees to do so. You also benefit from 24-hour support from our global team, not just here in London, but also our colleagues in Sydney, Australia, Toronto, Canada, and two offices in the US, Beverly, which is just outside of Boston on the East Coast, and Laguna Hills over in California too. Now, here is one of those handouts that I was referring to. So if you like the look of this and you haven't downloaded it, please feel free to go ahead and do so. And again, you've got the duration of this webinar to download your own copy if you would like it. What this great map does show is the main rail lines crisscrossing across Europe. And all of the different colors refer to either a different operator or a different type of train running across the continent. And one of the confusing things can be that all of these different train operators and companies, they don't really communicate with each other as well as they could do. They certainly don't release all of the trains for booking at the same time. And it can be confusing in general to know which is the best way of traveling, whether it's the most scenic option. Sometimes there can be more than one way of traveling between two different places. And how do you know which is the best option for you? So really what we aim to do is take all of the mystery and complexity out of rail travel for you. And one way that we do that is by having direct rail partnerships with all of the main rail operators in Europe, North America, and beyond. So we work very closely with our good friends and colleagues at Trenitalia, Deutsche Bahn, SNCF, Renfe, who are Spanish railways, Swiss railways, Eurostar, where so many of our holidays begin, of course, and across the pond with Via Rail over in Canada, Amtrak, of course, and many, many more too. And what that allows us to do is firstly to get access to the best available prices for you, which is obviously important, but also that allows us to be able to advertise all of the holidays that you see here up to 2 years in advance, which is really important, particularly if you're traveling for a special occasion or traveling at a busy time and you want to make sure that you can confirm the dates that you want to go in advance. But that also means that you get to confirm all of the travel at this year's prices. So you're not going to be affected by any price increases that may happen in the meantime. Now, one question that we are being asked at the moment, and for very understandable reasons, is how are rail operators maintaining a safe environment? And really, they're doing that in a number of different ways. One of the things they're doing is requiring facial coverings in stations and on trains for all passengers and staff. They're also, in many cases, stopping the sale of food and drink on board trains. They're changing the seat configuration, seat allocation on board to allow for that all-important social distancing. And they're also increasing the cleaning and sanitation measures that are in place. Also, where possible, they're carrying out contactless ticket control again, so we can keep that social distancing wherever possible. And I can vouch for this motley collection of individuals that you can see on the screen right now, because these are my colleagues, or some of them at any rate. And each year we're lucky enough to be able to try out one of the holidays that we feature. And that's obviously great because we get to experience the hotels, the sightseeing tours, the destinations themselves, and of course the train journeys. And we can continually modify and improve the holidays that we feature. But not just that, it also means that if you have a particular question about a holiday you've seen, or a destination, there'll always be someone available to speak to who's been to that destination or done that exact holiday. So as we like to put it, we know because we go. Right, so that's who we are and what we do. Let's have a look at some of the wonderful destinations that you can visit in the beautiful country of France. So today we're going to be avoiding Paris really for the most part, and we're going to be concentrating on some other areas that are well worth a visit. And really, there's going to be a great variety in terms of destinations that we visit. There'll be some wonderful Mediterranean uh, seaside destinations. There'll be some fantastic towns with some great history, culture, wonderful architecture, great food too, and a chance to get out into the open and explore the countryside and wide open spaces as well. So really, there are going to be a great number of different experiences available. So let's take a look. These are the types of trains that in the main you will be traveling on within France. They're called TGV, which stands for Train à grande vitesse, which literally means high-speed train. On the top left, the image that you'll see is a first-class carriage, and the bottom left is in standard class. And really the main difference between the two, as you can see, is that in standard class, if you look across the aisle, you've got 4 seats, 2 on either side, whereas in first class, you've got 2 one side and 1 the other. So what that means is in first class, the seats are a little bit larger because there aren't as many of them. And there's also, for that reason, a little bit more space, a bit more leg room, a bit more space to store your luggage, and a slightly quieter traveling environment too, by virtue of being fewer seats in the carriage. So it's comfortable, whichever class of travel you choose, but if you prefer, to have that little bit more space and leg room, a bit more space to relax, then first class can be a good option. And a lot of the time, it's a very small increase from the prices in standard to upgrade. So not like it can be in the UK, for example. It is often a very small difference to upgrade. So well worth considering. And on the right-hand side, you can see some of the great scenery that you might experience traveling within France. This is along the coast, along the Riviera, and beautiful views of the sea. So particularly as you're in the southern part of the country, there's some great scenery to see too, of course, which is one of the reasons for traveling by train in the first place. And this is a holiday where you might get to see some views very similar to that. So to start things off, let's look at our Côte d'Azur holiday to Nice and Cannes, which is 7 days in duration. And one of the great things about this holiday really is that you get 2 French Riviera destinations in one holiday. Or, to be honest, 3, because we actually include a day trip to Monaco as well. The journey starts off in London, and all of these holidays, of course, you can add on train travel from your local station. I was going to say from your doorstep, but not quite, but from your local train station to London if you prefer. Equally, if you are one of those people who live closer to Ebbsfleet International or Ashford International, of course, we can start there rather than London if you prefer to. So from London, it's around about a 2-hour, 20-minute journey on the Eurostar over to Paris. Simple change in Paris before taking the TGV train, around about a 6-hour journey down to Nice. It's a nice journey as well, particularly the second part, as we saw on the image on the previous slide. As you leave Marseille and head towards the coast, you do get some great views of the sea as you head along the coastline. We spend 3 nights in Nice, including a day trip to Monaco, which is so easy to do by train. It's about 20-25 minutes each way, so very, very short journey. And then after your 3-night stay, you again head along the coast, a 50-minute train journey over to Cannes for a 3-night stay. And we include a guided tour of Cannes while you're there, spending 3 nights before heading back to London. And what great iconic destinations they are, of course. Particularly, I think one of the nice things about the webinars that we've been doing over the last few months is when we've all been in lockdown, it's been nice to be able to look at some of these wonderful places and at least start to imagine and dream together and think about places that we might like to travel to once life starts to get back to normal. And just a couple of beautiful destinations here, as you can see. We've got the iconic seafront stretch, the Promenade des Anglais, with the palm trees running along the seafront, as you can see. Wonderful at any time of day, but particularly in the evening as the sun starts to set. It's a really, really nice walk along the seafront area. But it's not just about the seafront in these. They have a really interesting old town as well. A couple of great museums. And in fact, one quirky fact about the old town in Nice that you maybe might not be aware of is that there is actually a small Russian community there. And in fact, with St. Nicholas's Cathedral, Nice actually has the largest Russian place of worship outside of Russia itself, which is certainly not the first place I would have picked if you'd asked me before I found that out. And it might partly go to explain why once a week there's a long distance train that takes around about 3 days or so that runs direct between Nice and Moscow. So there you go. Not 2 places that you would naturally assume go together, but just goes to show there is a link between the two. But lots and lots to see and do in Nice. Great food too. Lots of great opportunities to indulge in some al fresco dining. And it's complemented really well by Cannes. Similar in some respects, as you can see again, there's that wonderful seafront area, the Croisette, which is fantastic to relax or take a stroll along at any time of day. We have a guided walking tour in Cannes, and it's a really interesting one, I think, because there's a lot of history there, and it really allows you to understand how Cannes has changed a lot over the years, from its humble beginnings as what was originally just a small fishing village, really, to what we know today with the glamour of the Cannes Film Festival and so on. While walking around Cannes, it's well worth keeping your eyes open for some of the wonderful buildings, like the one you can see on the top left with those wonderful painted walls, something that they call in French, they call trompe l'oeil, which basically means that it deceives the eye. It looks a little bit like there are people standing on the balconies, doesn't it? And things jutting out and so on. But really, all of that's just painted on and really, really clever. But a really interesting and relaxing place to spend a couple of days. So if you're looking for a great Mediterranean holiday, then really these two or three destinations really do fit the bill. Next up, still in the south of France, but not quite as far down, we'll look at our holiday to Aix-en-Provence and Avignon. This time it's a 5-day holiday in total. Once again, we begin the journey in London, traveling through to Paris, and then we have a high-speed TGV journey down to Aix-en-Provence, which is only 3 hours and 5 minutes in duration, so really, really quick when you consider how far we have to travel. Great way of exploring the heart of the Provençal district, and included in the 2-night stay we have a small group half-day tour of the lavender fields from Aix-en-Provence. So wonderful to get out into the Provençal countryside and those wide open spaces. And then we head north to Avignon, which is again very fast, just a 20-minute journey really. And we have 2 nights in Avignon, including entrance to the famous Palais des Papes, before heading back to the UK. And again, what great destinations they are once more, really. Aix-en-Provence, the heart of the city really is the famous tree-lined street, which you can see part of on the top left, the Cours Mirabeau, which is lined with cafes. One of the most famous of which is called Les Deux Garçons, and this was frequented years ago by famous French figures like Camus, Cézanne, Zola, and many others as well. So it really is kind of embedded in French culture. And at the end of this street, there is the large famous fountain that you can see on the bottom right called the Fontaine de la Rotonde, which is a real symbol of the city. And we do also have, as I mentioned, this half-day tour out into the Provençal countryside to the lavender fields, and obviously very iconic in themselves. But one of the best aspects of Provence really is the surrounding countryside, and you get to explore that in a small group. Absolutely beautiful part of the world, so highly recommended, and a nice contrast to what is a relatively small and extremely walkable city, so really interesting one to visit. And I think it combines very well with Avignon, which is also very, very walkable indeed. Top left, you can see the famous and iconic Palais des Papes with the medieval stone ramparts. Avignon used to be the seat of the Catholic popes, and in fact, it remained under papal rule until 1791. Really, really interesting to go and enter the Palais des Papes and explore, and also to take a walk around the city walls. It's a wall city, Avignon. In fact, the historic centre is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which gives you some idea of the history and everything there is to discover there. And of course, as the song suggests, we have the famous bridge, the Pont Saint-Bénézet, otherwise known as the Pont d'Avignon. I won't sing it, don't worry. Which is the originally a medieval bridge, a famous one, of course, which you can see on the bottom right. Again, it's very, very easy to explore Avignon on foot. There's a lot to see, lots of history, great for food, eating out as well, all of those typically French activities. So, if you don't fancy perhaps a seaside destination, Mediterranean destination, but you'd like some sunshine, some history, not too much walking, perhaps somewhere that's very easy to get travel around without having to take public transport, taxis, or anything like that. These are two really, really, really interesting destinations that are very, very fascinating, very easy to discover on foot. So I'd highly recommend this particular holiday. Okay, so next up, this is an interesting one. This is our holiday to Dijon and Lyon. Now, if you're like me, I'll hold my hands up on this one. These probably aren't the first two destinations that trip off the tongue or that immediately come to mind when you're thinking of destinations to visit, perhaps. Certainly when thinking about French destinations, they're perhaps, not right at the top of the list, but they're really, really interesting, particularly anybody who considers themselves a foodie, got a bit of a gastronomic bent, perhaps, because these are really the two of the main gastronomic centres in France. So once again, starting off in London, heading over to Paris, and then Paris to Dijon is a direct just over an hour and a half, around about 1 hour 36 minutes. We have 2 nights in Dijon, including a Burgundy tour with wine tasting, very important, obviously. It's when in Rome and all that. And then we head slightly further south to Lyon, around about the same length of journey, about 1 hour 39 or so, for a 2-night stay. And here we include what's possibly the highlight of the holiday, I think, maybe the local food tour in Lyon. I really, really recommend this very highly, and I'll come back to it in a second and explain exactly why that is. And here we are in Dijon, capital of the Burgundy region, and famous for many things, of course, isn't it? Famous for mustard, food, and wine, and many, many beautiful buildings, some of which you can see examples of here, ranging from Gothic architecture to Art Deco as well. Lots and lots of history, lots to explore. And we've got that all-important Burgundy wine tour. You can see the wine fields, wineries over on the right-hand side. It's a small group tour in an open-top bus. Again, gets you out of the city, out into the countryside. And yes, you get to do some of the all-important tasting, and you can stock up on some supplies to bring home as well. So highly recommended, and a really interesting, beautiful part of the world. As is Lyon. It's the third largest city in France. Once again, it's got a beautiful old town. One of the most popular attractions is the outdoor theatre, which is over 2,000 years old and is actually still in use a couple of times a year. So you can still actually occasionally go and see a performance there. But again, there's lots of history, lots to explore, some fascinating cafes and bars, as you can see there. The corkscrew, the tire-bouchon, as this one is called, and just great to have a stroll around. Wonderful architecture and buildings, and of course, it really is the French food capital in so many ways. There's so many great places in Lyon to eat out. But I mentioned the secret food tour, and that I think it's the highlight of the trip. So let me explain why. Um, we have a small number of these tours, only in a select number of destinations that we feature, and really they're all destinations that have some connection with food. Lyon is, for obvious reasons, is one of those, and there's a number of different things that I like about them really. One is that whilst you're doing the tour, you take a walk through the city and you explore certain parts of the city and just learn about things that perhaps you wouldn't see or hear about otherwise. You visit a number of different establishments while you try different types of food, which will range from starters to a main meal, dessert, cheeses, obviously in this part of the world. And the places that you visit are generally a bit more off the beaten track. They're probably not places that maybe you or I would automatically easily find out about ourselves, but they're kind of frequented more by locals than by tourists, and it really does give you an authentic flavour of the real Lyon, and of course you get to enjoy some wonderful food into the bargain. So highly recommend And particularly if if you are really into your food, then I think this is a holiday that you would particularly enjoy. So I'd highly recommend this one. So we've been spending a bit of time in the southeast. Now it's time to head west and head over to the southwest of France with our holiday to Bordeaux and Biarritz. So once again, we start off in London with that Eurostar journey, and then from Paris to Bordeaux. Incredibly, if you look at that distance on the map there, it's only 2 hours and 9 minutes, thanks to the high-speed line that was completed just a year or so ago. Absolutely incredible. Even more so when you consider that it takes 1 hour 59 minutes to travel from Bordeaux to Biarritz for the next part of the trip. So pretty amazing. Shows what high-speed rail can do and how it cuts the journeys down enormously. So we've got 2 nights in Bordeaux, wonderful for exploring the 18th century architecture and of course sampling some of the local world famous wine, why not? And then heading down to relax in the seaside resort of Biarritz and spending 5 nights by the coast before heading home. And this is a really interesting holiday again, I think, because the two destinations here are quite different. So you get quite a nice different type of holiday. Starting off in Bordeaux, lots of great museums, wonderful 18th century architecture, as you can see here. Apart from obviously the building on the top left, which is definitely not 18th century. This is the La Cité du Vin, which is the both a wine museum and also an exhibition centre. So you can learn everything there is to know about the wine from Bordeaux, and of course there's plenty of opportunities to stock up on essential supplies as well. So lots and lots of history, lots to explore, lots of culture, and of course the all-important wine as well. There's definitely a theme following on from Dijon Lyon, isn't there, at the moment? But if you like that sort of thing, then this is a great part of the world to visit. And then I think there's a lovely contrast with Biarritz afterwards. It's been a popular resort since the 18th century when European royalty first started to visit, but beautiful coastline, very relaxing place to spend a couple of days. One of the real symbols of Biarritz is the rocky outcrop that you can see on the image on the top right there. It's called the Rocher de la Vierge, and it's really become the symbol of Biarritz in a lot of ways, I guess. It's there's a statue of the Virgin Mary on the outcrop, and if you go right to the end across the bridge there, you get some wonderful views out looking over the Bay of Biscay too. But again, lots of wonderful places to eat out, lots of great seafood in that part of the world. Plenty of opportunity to relax by the beach, perhaps after heading around the museums and whatnot in Bordeaux, or recovering from lots of wine sampling, whatever it might be. But a beautiful, relaxing part of the world and a fantastic place to relax and spend a couple of days. So two very different destinations, as you can see, and I think they just they go together very well. And I think it's definitely the right way around. So you can finish off with, a good couple of nights relaxing in Biarritz. So we'll move on to something slightly different next of all, and this holiday includes Barcelona, Carcassonne, Bordeaux, and Paris. So I know what you're thinking. Barcelona is not in France, that is true, but it's a great way of combining a visit over to Spain with some of these great French destinations. So on this holiday, there's two different options. You can either fly direct to Barcelona, or if you prefer, it's very, very easy to visit by train in one day, leaving from London at around about 9:30 in the morning, one straightforward change in Paris, and then a direct high-speed train all the way past the Pyrenees down to Barcelona for a 2-night stay. We include skip the line access to the famous Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, and then you head north back into France for a 2-night stay in Carcassonne, the hilltop town. And we include skip the line access to the castle in Carcassonne and the ramparts too. Then it's time to head west to Bordeaux for a 2-night stay, including skip the line access to the Cité du Vin, that very modern building that we saw just a moment ago, before heading back to the capital for 2 nights in Paris, including a skip the line tour of the Eiffel Tower and cruise on the River Seine too. So we won't look at Barcelona today because we've looked at Barcelona on quite a few webinars over the last couple of weeks and months, and it's not in France, is it? So let's just stick to the overall theme of the webinar. We've just looked at Bordeaux, and we're missing out Paris for now. So let's take a little look at Carcassonne, which we haven't featured thus far. So Carcassonne is a really beautiful medieval hilltop town, which you can see here. Most famous, of course, for its medieval citadel, La Cité. In fact, the first walls were built in Roman times. So there's lots and lots of history, as I think you can see here. Absolutely beautiful destination. We include the skip the line tour to the 12th century castle, the Chateau Comtal, which has got some great architectural treasures inside to look at as well. And it's well worth having that skip the line access because obviously, the most popular attraction in Carcassonne, also very popular with day trippers as well. So it's good to be able to avoid the queues and just go straight in. But lots and lots of history and a really fascinating counterpoint, I think, to some of the larger destinations we have on this particular holiday, because it's a lot smaller. Medieval hilltop town, you can walk around it very, very easily, walk along the city walls as well, but well worth a visit if you've not been there before. It's a very, very interesting historic destination and a nice counterpoint to some of those other destinations in this holiday. So we've looked at some wonderful French destinations, and if we'd like a greatest hits holiday to finish off with, then this might be a good one to choose. This is our grand tour of France, and we kind of go around in a little bit of a loop here from London, starting off with 2 nights in the capital, including a hop-on, hop-off sightseeing tour, a small group Eiffel Tower tour, and a cruise on the Seine. And then we head east to Strasbourg for a 2-night stay, then down for 2 nights in Lyon, including that secret food tour that we were just talking about. Then it's down to the Riviera for 2 nights in Nice, including a small group tour. And then on to Marseille for a night, up to Avignon, and then across to Bordeaux for a 2-night stay, including the Cité du Vin skip the line tickets, again, that we were talking about just before, and then back to Paris and home once again. So lots and lots of great destinations included. We've looked at most of them already, but there's a few that we haven't looked at today. And one of those is Marseille, which is a really interesting destination. The old port area is the biggest in France, and it's still an active working port today. And there's a really nice contrast, I think, between the old town area and the kind of vibrant working port area as well. So very, very interesting place to explore. Also, if you are a seafood lover, apologies if you're not, other food types are available. But if you are, then you definitely have to try a bouillabaisse when you are here, because not only is it very nice in its own right, but this is its home. This is where it was originated. So what better place to try some, whether you've had it before and loved it or you've never tried some before, this is the ideal time to start. So perfect opportunity for any fish and seafood lovers to tuck into some of that. And for everybody else, wonderful walks along the coastline, as you can see. Really interesting harbour destination. I think it combines really well with having visited Nice just beforehand, because it's although it's similar part of the world, it's a very, very different feel to it. And they go together really well because they are different, as I think you can get a flavour of a little bit from the images here, but you definitely will experience when you visit them. A really, really interesting part of the world to visit. As is Strasbourg, which is the other destination that hitherto we haven't looked at on this webinar. And Strasbourg is a really interesting part of the world because it's got a wonderful location and very close to the German border. And so you get this really fascinating blend of the French and German cultures, cuisines, history, and so much more, really. The buildings have got their own, unique style. I really love the food in this part of the world too. And probably my favourite parts of Strasbourg would be the famous Gothic cathedral. That would be one, but also the area that you can see on the bottom right of the screen, and also to the left, which is called La Petite France, and it's got a wonderful network of canals and those beautiful buildings that you can see there. Really, really fascinating place to explore. And like many of the destinations that we've looked at today, Strasbourg is really, really easy to explore and get to know on foot. So very, very easy to take a stroll around and see everything that it has to offer. So this grand tour of France really does cover lots and lots of different destinations, which are all very, very different, and give you a really, interesting flavour of this great country, seeing so many different parts of it. We also have a number of destinations that you can, of course, visit as a city break as well. I mean, to be honest, you can pretty much visit anywhere in France as a city break quite comfortably. Many of those we've looked at already, such as Strasbourg, we were just talking about, Marseille and Nice. One that we haven't mentioned, of course, is Lyon, which is very easy to visit. In fact, probably the easiest of all, really, because it's the closest pretty much to the UK by train. It's just around about 1 hour, 20 minutes or so from London. Very, very easy to visit. Got an interesting old town. And for anyone who loves art, there's a couple of absolutely wonderful art museums over there. So you can lose several hours if you're interested in art. There's lots and lots to see there. And as well as those destinations, of course, we've got Bordeaux, Lyon, Cannes, many, many more. And another destination we haven't mentioned, Reims or Rheims, famous for champagne, of course. And we do have a visit to the champagne cellars included in the city breaks. So you can go on a tour, find out how they make it, of course, get to taste it, and stock up on the all essential supplies to bring back with you as well. So lots and lots of great options available. If you just fancy a shorter break, perhaps not quite so much traveling, then very, very easy to do many of these destinations as a city break. In fact, as I said, you could do any one of them really very, very easily indeed. These are just a flavour of the destinations you could do. And of course, as I mentioned before, we always love to hear from you as well. So why not use the questions box that you've got on the screen in the webinar at the moment to let us know where you'd like to plan your next holiday to. Where are you interested in visiting? What time of year would you like to go? Are there destinations you'd like us to feature on these webinars that either we haven't featured yet or you haven't tuned in for that you'd like us to feature over the next few weeks? So if you'd like us to talk about a different destination, or you'd like to know more about a particular destination, or you just want to let us know where you're planning on visiting next, whatever it might be, we love to hear from you. So please do send your feedback through. Just another reminder, we do have that Great Escape sale. It's still going on, but it's not got much time left. So once again, it finishes on Friday, and you can save up to £500 per couple, depending on the duration of holiday that you pick. So lots and lots of great offers available on anything from a 3-night holiday upwards, really. So you can make some really great savings, whether it's booking to travel now or travel, later this year, next year, whenever it might be. So to take advantage of that, whether it's a holiday you've seen today or something altogether different, you've not got much time left. And we thought we'd just include a little extra and show you some of the other holidays that we're seeing being really popular and booking right now. And this is booking whether it's for travel this year and also for travel next year too. So definitely popular at the moment is the Mediterranean area. We've looked at a number of Mediterranean destinations in France, of course, but a destination that's very popular too is Spain, with our Barcelona and Valencia holiday in particular. Great opportunity to explore the Mediterranean and the perfect combination of history and that Mediterranean location. Also popular right now are holidays closer to home, including holidays in this country. And one of the most popular destinations is undoubtedly Scotland. Our Grand Inverness and the Highlands via the Caledonian Sleeper is probably the most popular holiday that we have there at the current time. And this involves a round trip on the famous Caledonian Sleeper, one of the only two overnight trains in the UK, heading up to the Highlands, spending 4 nights in Inverness and visiting Loch Ness, and a full day tour to the Isle of Skye as well. So lots and lots of wide open spaces, lots to see and do there, and it's very popular right now, as is as it is every year, Venice via the Alps. I think the name just says everything that's popular about this holiday, really. It's got that perfect mix of an unbeatable, iconic destination and an absolutely beautiful way of traveling there. And really, I guess that's the perfect combination, because that's what you're looking for when you're traveling on holiday by train, really, isn't it? You want an enjoyable journey and a great destination at the end of it. And this holiday has definitely got that. And that's really why it's been popular for as long as I can remember. Pretty much year on year out, it's either one of the most popular or just certainly in the top couple anyway. And it's not too difficult to see why. Absolutely beautiful part of the world. If you've never been, it is worth it. It is a unique destination, and it's a fantastic way of getting there. So justifiably popular year in, year out. I should just take a quick moment to say thank you to all those of you who are listening who voted for us on any of the awards that we were nominated for over the past 12 months or so. In particular, those of you who voted us the overall winner on the British Travel Awards at the end of last year in the Best Rail Holiday Company category. We're very, very happy and delighted to be nominated and to win in that category. So thank you very much to all those of you at home who voted for us. It's very much appreciated. A reminder of our website, railbookers.co.uk. That's where you can find all of the holidays we've looked at today and many, many more as well. You can find them either by searching for different destinations or by different types of holiday. Could be by scenery, could be a number of different ways, really, by luxury travel experiences, overnight experiences, whatever it might be, lakes and mountains. Or you can search by popular train routes, by map, lots and lots of other ways of finding the holiday that you're looking for. You can also order our 2020 Railbookers brochures, but to be honest, if you would like a copy as you're on the webinar, you might as well just let us know using the questions box on the screen, because that's going to be a much faster way of doing it. Whether we've got a couple actually. We've got our main Railbookers brochure, which has our most popular holidays in Europe, North America, and beyond. Our sister company Amtrak Vacations, which has a number of great itineraries across the USA and Canada. And if it's Canada that's particularly of interest, well, our Via Rail Vacations brochure might be the one for you. It's got some great ideas that we've put together in combination with Via Rail, who are the national trail operator over there. Everything from traveling coast to coast through the Rockies, French-speaking parts, Niagara Falls, the Rocky Mountaineers in there as well. There's lots and lots of great train holidays across Canada. So whatever it might be, we've got a great option included there for you. So if you'd like any or all of those, again, all you need to do is let us know, and we'll be happy to send some across to you. Some dates for your diary next up, to let you know what upcoming webinars we have. So next week, 21st and 23rd of July, we have 7 of the most scenic train routes in Switzerland. So beautiful countryside, wide open spaces, amazing train journeys, some of the most beautiful in the world. If any of those things sound appealing, this is definitely a good webinar to attend, I think. And then the week after, 28th and the 30th, we have trending right now another popular list of destinations, 5 scenic lake holidays for 2020 and 2021. So lots of great options there. Again, if that looks interesting, that's a great date for your diary and want to make sure that you sign up for. And just to finish on a lighter note, as we always do, this picture, wonderful collection of pictures here, showed myself and my colleagues across the globe. This was taken back in March, when we'd all moved home from the office, or to start working from home at any rate, and we were getting used to working from home and how is it going to work, and did we have all the equipment, and were we going to run out of toilet roll, and all of those questions that everybody was asking around about that time. And we've been there ever since, really. And now, as in the last week, really, this is the first time I've been able to say this on a webinar that I've done since then. But now we're able to travel to a number of places since those, and we've seen, a number of you booking trips away to visit the various parts of Europe that have opened up to us, and of course many of you booking for for later this year, for next year as well. So really our message to all of you out there is whenever you're ready to book, whatever it might be for, if it's for this year, next year, or later, who knows, whenever you're ready, we're ready, we're here, we're still working from home, but we're here and happy to help whenever you're ready to get in touch. So just a quick reminder, if you wanted to download those handouts but you haven't done so yet, now's the time, because we're almost out of time. Let's just see if we can perhaps answer a question or two before we wrap things up. A reminder that we won't be able to get around to all of them, but one of my colleagues will reach out to everybody who has submitted a question. So they'll be in touch either this afternoon, tomorrow, or perhaps start of next week, just to make sure that we wrap through every single question that we get. Oh, we've got a lot coming through, which is fantastic. So thank you very much to all those of you who've submitted your questions. Okay, let's have a little look and see if we can maybe pick an easy one or two to answer now, but let's say we will get in touch with every single one. Thank you to all those of you who sent your brochure requests through, and all of the requests for different destinations. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. I've got a question here from Karen, and Karen's question is, well, it's actually a two-part question, is do these holidays include accommodation, and are these guided tours? So to answer your question, Karen, yes, all of these do feature accommodation. So on each holiday that we looked at, the number of nights shows how many nights are included in a given destination. And we have a range of hotels in each destination from 3-star through to 5, so you can choose depending on your preference. And also some are more contemporary, some more traditional, all centrally located, easy to access from the main train stations. So each holiday, if you find it on our website, will be based on a particular type of particular hotel, but there will be a range available. So if, for example, it's based on a 3-star, you'd rather stay in a 5, that's no problem, or vice versa, or whatever it might be. So all you need to do is let us know what it is that you're looking for. If you prefer to stay in a 4-star, 3-star, 5-star, whatever it might be, and we'll do the rest. And as far as the tours are concerned, the individual sightseeing tours that we have are all in small groups. So yes, those tours are all guided for you. So you wouldn't be part of a huge group. It would just be a small group in each case, when you would be, and you would have a guide taking you around that part of the holiday. But for the rest of the time, you're your own devices, you're your own guide at that point. So you can spend more time at the places that interest you, and do whatever you'd like to do. And it's the individual elements where having the guide really does make you benefit that more from the experience, having the explanations and so on, and of course allowing you where possible to skip the queues as well. So basically you've got the guides where we think you need it and it benefits the holiday, and where you don't, you're your own boss and you can explore under your own steam. So great couple of questions, Karen. Thank you for those. Hope you're safe and well. Thanks for joining us today. I got more people asking for brochures. Fantastic. Another very, very quick one to finish on. This is quite a good one as well. Question from Frank. Thank you very much for this one, Frank. Hope you're safe and well. Frank's question is, I've never traveled by train over to Europe before. Hopefully you'll be doing so at some point in the not too distant future, Frank. Hopefully you found something to inspire you, but I digress. Frank's question is, I've never traveled by train over to Europe before. How much luggage can I take with me? And this is one we get asked a lot, and it is a very good question. It's very different from flying, basically. So if there's no flights involved, Frank, you can pretty much take as much luggage as you can carry. The official guidelines are that you can take 2 items of luggage per person, plus 1 item of hand luggage. And to be honest, most people can't really carry too much more than that, can they? The other good news is there are no weight restrictions. So if you're planning on, bringing back presents and souvenirs for everybody, friends, family, yourself, whoever it might be, taking back some of that all-important wine and champagne from, depending where you've been, if you've been in Bordeaux or champagne tasting or wherever it might be, then you can do that. Really, as long as you can look after it, you can take as much as you want, is the simple answer to that question. So thanks very much for that question, Frank, and thank you, Karen, for your questions as well. And thank you to everybody. I see lots of questions and suggestions and requests for brochures and things like that, which is fantastic. We'll make sure we get in touch with all of you over the next couple of days to answer all of those questions. So thanks very much for that. And really, the only remaining thing to finish off with is, as I usually like to do, is first of all just to say thank you for spending some time with me on the webinar this afternoon. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting and useful, and hope perhaps giving you some food for thought and some inspiration about places you might like to visit, which would be great. That's what we're here to do. So hopefully it's given you some ideas. But even more important, please do continue to stay safe and stay healthy. That's the most important thing. So look after yourselves. It is important. Let's keep it that way. And you know, life, well, seems to be slowly inching perhaps towards the right direction, doesn't it? We're able to travel again to a lot of these places. Certainly, we're able to travel over to France, which last time I was doing a webinar was not something I was able to say. So life does seem to be hopefully inching towards the right direction. So please do stay safe and healthy, everybody. Look after yourselves. Have a great rest of your afternoon, great rest of the day. It's been lovely to spend some time with you. And who knows, maybe we'll spend time together on a webinar in the not too distant future as well. Thank you.